Sketching a character on A3 thick paper with an HB2 pencil. Before you start drawing, it's important to prepare your workspace. Find a comfortable, well-lit space where you won't be distracted. Place the A3 paper on a flat surface, preferably at a slight angle. This will help avoid distortions in proportions. Use an HB2 pencil, which has the optimal softness for initial sketches, and keep an eraser handy to adjust the lines if necessary. Basic construction of the head and body. Start by constructing the shape of the head. Using light, barely noticeable movements, draw an oval. Try not to press on the pencil so that the lines can be easily erased later. Divide it with a vertical line. This will help align the symmetry of the face. Then add 3 horizontal guidelines. The first will mark the eye level, the second, the tip of the nose, and the third, the mouth line. Next, define the position of the body. Draw the central axis of the spine, outlining the tilt and pose of the character. Then add shoulder lines and use light strokes to outline the main shapes of the body. If the character is wearing long sleeves or a cape, take this into account right away when adding the appropriate shapes. Detailing the face, now let's start drawing the face. Refine the shape of the chin, making it smoother or sharper, depending on the desired look. The eyes are one of the most expressive parts of the drawing. Using the previously outlined guidelines, draw the shape of the eyes, add the iris, pupils, and highlights. The eyebrows should match the facial expression. They can be curved, strict, or soft. The nose is depicted with light lines, avoiding hard contours. Light strokes will help convey volume. Also draw the mouth carefully. It can be slightly open, smiling, or convey a neutral expression. Drawing the hairstyle and clothing details. Before detailing the hair, determine its overall volume. Start with large shapes, parting, general silhouette of the hairstyle. Then move on to individual strands, not drawing each hair, but indicating the direction and texture. Clothing also requires attention. Outline the main folds of the fabric, watching how it fits the body or falls. If the character is wearing a hat or hood, draw it so that it looks natural. Final detailing and finishing work. When the main elements are ready, move on to working out small details. Refine the lines, making them more expressive. Add elements of the costume, jewelry, or additional accents. Now take an eraser and carefully remove auxiliary lines without damaging the main contours. Before you start working with paints, it is important to properly prepare the surface. Make sure your sketch is completely finished and the contour lines are clear. Prepare a palette, clean water, and 3 brushes. A fine brush for drawing small details, a medium brush for working with major elements such as clothing and hair, and a fan brush for creating smooth transitions in the background. Step 1. Base layer. Light colors. You need to start painting with the lightest shades, since acrylic dries quickly, and it will be more difficult to cover dark colors. The first step is to paint areas of the skin. Use a thinned acrylic in a beige or pinkish shade, and apply it with a medium brush, distributing the paint evenly over the face, neck, and stomach of the character. Let the layer dry before moving on to the details. After the skin, move on to the lightest elements of the clothing and hair. In this case, the hairs are rich yellow with orange tones. Apply the base color with a wide medium brush, leaving small unpainted areas for highlights. Step 2. Adding mid-tones and details. Now that the main light colors have been applied, you can move on to the rich tones of the clothes and accessories. Use a medium brush to cover a large area, but change it to a thin one when working with patterns and small elements. The green color of the sweater is applied in 2 layers. First, the base shade, then a darker one to create folds and volume. To do this, slightly dilute the paint with water and carefully add shadows along the curves of the clothes. Red accents on the sleeves and collar are painted with a thin brush to keep the lines clear. The blue headdress is also painted in 2 stages. First the general color, and then dark lines to create the effect of depth. The decorations on the neck and ears are carefully drawn with a thin brush after the skin has completely dried. Step 3. Drawing the fine details. Once the basic elements are ready, it's time for the finest work. Use a fine brush to draw the eyes, eyebrows, mouth, and jewelry. The eyes should look alive, so add white highlights that will create the effect of light reflection. The blush on the cheeks can be applied with a semi-dry brush, lightly touching the paper to create a soft gradient. The lines on the clothes and additional shadows are also drawn at this stage, refining the overall composition. The background is always done last, so as not to spoil the finished drawing. Use a fan brush to create smooth transitions between colors. Start with the lightest area. In this case, it's the area around the character, where the background transitions from light orange to rich red. Mix the paints directly on the paper, moving the fan brush in circular motions. To create soft transitions, add a little water, but be careful not to let the paint spread too much. Dark areas of the background, such as the corner with a blue tint, are applied last to balance the composition. After the paint has completely dried, evaluate the drawing. It may be necessary to strengthen some contours with a thin black brush or add additional highlights with white paint. If the background is too bright, it can be muted by applying a thin layer of diluted white paint on top. The painting is bright, emotional, filled with energy. The colors are saturated, bold, but due to the lack of gradation of tones, they look flat. Yellow hair dominates, but has no depth, no shadows, shades, transitions. The eyes are expressive, attract attention, but the lines are sharp, too graphic, which is why the softness of the look is lost. The face as a whole conveys emotions, but the detailing is rough. Sharp eyebrows, too clear lip contour. The clothes are interesting in color, but also suffer from flatness. There is no sense of fabric, folds, volume. Red accents add contrast, but they can be made more subtle. The background is a strong element, creates dynamics, but looks chaotic. The colors are bright, but the sharp transitions make it unnatural. You can add smoothness, more tonal changes. In general, the style resembles a mixture of comics and anime, with an emphasis on expression. The main problem is the lack of depth and shadows, due to which the image loses realism. It can be improved by working on light and shadow, smooth lines and details.